Hi guys, welcome to Tiger Tropics. Today I'm going to basically do a nitrate and phosphate test on my newly acquired goldfish tank, which I'm just setting up. It's established from before when I was running other fish in it, but what I want to do, I've basically taken most of that out, put goldfish in it now. It's very basic. I will be changing it and rescaping it and stuff. But I wanted to do a water change since I haven't really done a water change on it. Just wanted the tank to find its equilibrium. And so now what I want to do is check the nitrates and the phosphates in the tank and do a water change accordingly. But first thing first, I need to find out what the water is I'm putting into it. So I've got two phosphate kits. One is the Marine Lab, the NTL Marine Lab, and the other one is the Tropic Marine kit, which both do phosphate. I want to basically compare the two kits against each other, and then I'll be using the NTL Aquarium Lab for the nitrates. So first thing first, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try this kit first, which is literally just one test tube. And I don't know if you can see it on the back here. That's basically the instructions, what you got to do. You end up with two bottles that you put 10 drops of this, then 10 drops of this. You mix it, and then you wait 5 minutes. Then after the 5 minutes, you'll get the result. So I'm going to do that and see what the result is. And then I'll move over to the Tropic Marine, and then we'll get the parameters of the tap water. And then once we know what the tap water is, we'll check the tank, see what where the tank is, and then we'll know what percentage of water to take out of it and where we stand when it comes to the actual water quality we're putting in. Okay, now I've waited for the NTL one 5 minutes. Take the top off. What you do is you line it up, look from the top and see, in all honesty, it's so blue that, sorry, keep this box upright, that I'd say it's definitely off what the colour chart is, as you can see. Let's say it's around about 0.1. This is the highest this goes, 0.1. I'll say it's maybe a touch higher. The Tropic Marine comes in this lovely little box where you got the colour chart. Oh yeah, I forgot to show you guys. That basically is your guide. Look how dirty that is. That's basically the guide on the side, if you hadn't guessed already. With the Tropic Marine, you've got this, and what you're supposed to do is use this little box here, and you put the two test tubes in, one being clear, one being the one that you've tested, and then you put it over the chart, and obviously you put the one that you're testing in here, and the one that you've tested, the clear one in here, and the one that you've tested here, and then that should basically match a colour to show you what your phosphate level is. Now, the difference between the NTL Labs one is that goes from up to 0.1 milligram. Now with this one, it goes up to 1 milligram. So in theory, we should get a more accurate test. And because what we've established with the NTL one, because these are actually designed, both kits are generally designed for marine use, but like obviously phosphates are phosphates, they're going to show up on both kits. The one for the marine lab, NTL labs one, has gone off the charts. So yeah, it's not really going to be any good. If it was a lot lower, and then that wouldn't have been a problem. Maybe use it at another stage when the phosphates are under control. So anyway, I do digress, but this one goes up to a higher level, so we should be able to detect it. So the idea is 2 tubes, one there, one there. As it says on the instructions on the back, 15 ml in one of them, 15 ml in the other, and like the NTL, phosphate test, you've got to basically put in one of the solutions and the other. The only difference being, put A in, you mix it, put B in, you mix it, and then you wait 4 minutes, and then you basically look and see what the what colour matches. And with the NTL, you just basically put both solutions in, mix it, and then wait 5 minutes, and that gives you the colour. So yeah, we'll do that now. We'll put in the right solutions and see what the results are. Okay. Now that's the colour of that. So what we do is replace it like this. Take the cap off, like that. And we peer down. Try to find similar colour. Which, looking down, looks like the tap water is off the chart, which is a real issue. Now if I take this out and go like that, yeah, come on, yeah, it's darker, so it's over a milligram, which by rights it shouldn't be over that, but there you go, that's the level the tap water is. Now, am I going to check the tap water? Am I going to check the phosphates in the tank? No, because I've been pumping that tank with tap water all this time. So I think there's no point in checking the phosphates until I've got something to actually knock down the phosphates with. Okay, next stage is check the nitrates in the tap water and check the nitrates in the tank, and let's see where we go with that. Okay, so I put the tap water in here. Asked me to shake it for 30 seconds. Now, gonna add 6 drops of 1, then 6 drops of 2. Just shake it a little bit, and then wait for 10 minutes and see where we're at. Alright, just done a nitrate test on the tap water. Don't know how this is possible, but I mean, you can't make it out, but there's a tiny tinge of pink to it, which means we're under 5 milligrams of nitrate. Find it very difficult to believe, but when I test the tank, that's going to definitely be higher. So let's see how the test returns. Okay, so that's the tap water which cannot, the tank water that cannot be right. So I'm looking, why is it I've got 0 nitrates on the tap water, which I thought maybe it's very low, and then 0 nitrates on the, what's the name? The tank water as well. Just thinking it doesn't make sense. So I went online, and apparently these bottles, me, Muppet, is shaking the tank water. You're supposed to be doing is shaking these. That the stuff, if you can see it, actually gets stuck on the bottom of the bottles. So you've got to make sure that you shake these bottles well. Up to 60 seconds. Don't go for the 30-second rule. Do 60 seconds. And I'm going to retest it now. Do tap water and tank water and see how much difference it makes. Don't know if it shows on the camera, but definitely a change. I would say somewhere in the region of between 10 and 20, which is not bad. That's not bad. That's the tap water. Let's see what the tanks say. So I'm just going to shake them now for about 60 seconds. I'm quite sure you don't want to see me shake it for 60 seconds. I'll be back. Okay, that's better. Alright, so what we're looking at. It's not really showing it up on the camera, but we are actually closer to the 40 than the 20. So let's say 30, which is still not bad. Well, not too bad. I mean, basically, the tap water parameters, the phosphates are high, but the nitrates are within reason. And the tank phosphates are going to be obviously high as well. And the nitrates are still within reason. So we can deduct that we want to drop 30 milligrams down to 10 to 20. We know how much of the water we need to change. So with the levels being very close to the tap water, even if you go and do 50% water changes, you're going to end up, so let's see, it was 10 to 20 from the tap, and it was about 30 for the tank. So doing a 50% water change, you're going to end up with 25%, 25 milligrams of nitrates afterwards. Same phosphates. They're not going to change. All you're going to see, problem is, unless, see, an issue is that if it stays at 30 and you do the water changes, you end up around about 25. It's all relatively in safe parameters. The phosphates are high, which I would definitely recommend get some GFO or something that's going to reduce the phosphates, because they should be no higher than 1 milligram ideally. So yeah, I would put something in the filter to absorb the phosphates, but the nitrates are relatively in safe parameters. So you're not really gaining a lot by doing big water changes. Only thing is if your tank starts ramping up all of a sudden and goes into the 40, 50, 60, and then it's kind of, it makes it more difficult because you're going to have to do bigger water changes to reduce that incline. Yeah? And the problem is you're kind of adding fuel to the fire. This is why, in the end, I went down the route of doing RODI water, because you start with, like, the water you're adding is 0 nutrients. So if you start getting a ramp up, when you do a big water change, you go bang and you knock it down. I mean, like we worked out that even doing a 60% water, 160%. We'll spit out in a minute. 160 litre water change on the 180, which after displacement was probably about 170 litres left, is going to get me about 21 milligrams of nitrate, because at the tap it's relatively there. And this is the problem. See, what I'd advise is find a level of the tank. Like, for instance, if you're running tap water and you want to keep the levels as close to the tap water as possible, say if it is at that sort of level, and then you need to basically work out the percentage of water and how regularly to match the stocking of what you've got in your tank. So I like, basically, if you've got a whole load of African cichlids, for instance, and in a week they can bump up the nitrates 30, 40 milligrams, and then you're going to have to work out what percentage of that tank water you need to reduce to get it closer to that safe zone of nitrates or phosphates. And I would say probably again, what I do see and what I have experienced is when you're running tap water, because you're running high nutrient water coming from the mains, is that you need things within your filter media to basically absorb nitrates and phosphates, yeah, to reduce some of that. Or you go down the route of getting a RO filter. There is a few resins like I think it's Countrywide or Countryside Aquatics do a C3, which is a nitrate reducing resin. JBL, which I've done in the past with not a great lot of success, but I will one day just go back to it, find out a bit more experience now, and maybe redo that test. But there's a lot of resins out there, DI resins, deionizing resins, which reduce nitrates. There's GFOs and granular phosphate reducers as well out there. And soon what I will be doing is testing out the Chemi Pure Blue product in my 4-footer to see, because looking for a product which does it all. So I'm going to have a look and see if that works, because what you've got is things like the Seachem Purigen has got like a scavenging granules on it, which basically what it does is the food and the stuff which is rotting in the water, which is being converted to nitrates, it's absorbing it before it gets to that point. So what it's doing is it's not getting rid of nitrates, it's just stopping them from ramping up, escalating before it goes through the whole cycle. With things like ferric oxide, I think it is, which is like your GFO, which is made out of zincs. Correct me if I'm wrong, but out of metals which absorb phosphates. Well, ferric oxide is a metal. Yeah, so basically they absorb the phosphates. So that's another way of see, things like GFO will reduce phosphates. Like in your tank, if you've got phosphates elevated, it'll actually reduce it. Different because with nitrates, it's very, very difficult to have a product which reduces high nitrates, which your tank is just, which you're constantly topping up with from the tap. If anything, with products like Purigen, all you're doing is you're stopping escalation. but you're not stopping the source. If you keep on adding tap water, the likelihood is you're going to probably exhaust the Purigen eventually quicker, and you're never going to get to that point of having no nitrates. Now, with the I think it's Countryside Aquatics, they're stating, and I've heard this a lot, that their resin actually gets rid of nitrates within your tank system. I don't know if that's true, but I would imagine, because I tried the Fishlogic nitrate removing filter, and that basically is DI resin. So what that was doing is, as you're running the tap through it, it's deionizing the water and taking out the nitrates, which is fine, because on a RO unit it'll run through so many stages before it gets there, and then it'll be doing things like carbon will be taking out things like all the heavier elements, and your DI resin will be what will take out things like nitrates and phosphates as your last stage, with less of effect on the DI, because obviously that's got to absorb it. So what happens is if you solely use some form of DI resin, it basically exhausts it faster. But yeah, anyway, with all my ramblings, so I mean, if I was someone else advising me how to do the water change on my goldfish tank, I would probably go down the route of keeping an eye on the levels, starting with something like a 10 or a 20% water change weekly. Have a look at see if your levels elevating beyond the safe values. Say for instance, if I want to keep it at 30 nitrates, I would then basically just keep an eye on it weekly and see if my 10 or 20% water changes are keeping it at that level. If it starts escalating beyond that, then I need to up in the percentage of the water changes. You know, another thing is I could just get some plants in there. Hopefully the plants will draw some of them nitrates out as well, which is a good tactic, but not a foolproof tactic, since depending on your depending on how many fish you got in there and how large your bioload is, your plants may not cope with it. So water change is a really good way of dropping down high nutrient levels. So I'm basically just going to follow the fact of starting with 20% water changes and going from there. But then I am definitely on my next filter clean going to be looking into some sort of GFO granular oxide to basically reduce the phosphates right down and go from there. So hopefully you'll find this somewhat educational and hopefully it'll help you out try to figure out what to do when it comes to water changes. And I suppose the whole thing with the testing and all the rest of it, it's just highlighting how important testing is. Regular testing as well, if you can. Getting your tank to a point where maintenance is sustaining safe levels for the fish, and you'll find that if your tank's in balance that way, the way the tank looks will be better. It will stay looking cleaner. The fish will be healthier, and there won't be no problems in the future. Fingers crossed. But anyway, thank you very much. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, share, and from me, take care. It has this for a thing, for a signing out catchphrase. Tiger Tropics, all the topics about aquatics. No, that don't sound right. Or fish topics. Let me know what you think. See you later. Take care, guys. Bye bye.